When we see ourselves as lacking in any way, we cannot know our own wholeness, right? And initially, this will come about as panic. You know, you want to be better, you want to be healthy, but everything seems to be going wrong in your life. But this is just a perception of the ego, and so this is a perception of a false sense of self, right? We are whole, so to perceive that we are not whole is false. You know, it's not of our true nature. And then so what we do is we end up trying to blame it on someone outside of ourselves because we don't yet have that understanding, right? But to put the blame on something else or someone else, right, is the same as putting the blame on ourselves, you know? And that also has no place in our true self, right? We are blameless in the eyes of God. So to see ourselves within the eyes of God is to see ourselves as blameless and to see everyone else as blameless, right? So no matter what anybody does to you or does to, you know, how we perceive things to be done to us and how it seems like the world is coming up against us, no matter what, no matter any of that, we are all blameless, right? So to come in, we know of our innocence, right? So to come in into healing, to come into oneness is to not find where to blame these things on, right? It's not to find who to blame these things on, but it's to find our, it is to understand that there's no one to blame, you know? We were in a state through the ego. We're in a state of lovelessness, in a state of misunderstanding, right? In a state of sickness, in a state of not knowing who we truly are. And to heal is to get into a state where we understand who we truly are. So in that is our innocence, right? It's everybody's innocence, right? So a big part of that healing is getting rid of that feeling of needing to blame, and not only blaming other people, but blaming the self too, you know? It is one thing to know the power of the self and the power to create our perception. And then there's another thing to blame and feel contempt or feel angry towards the self because we have made up these warped images of the world, you know? That's not anything to put blame on. That's something to heal from, you know what I'm saying? That's not anything to punish ourselves for or anything to punish anybody else for, you know? Punishment is of the ego because there's no reconciling within the ego. There's no sense within the ego, you know, so there's no healing, there's no conclusions within it, so it just perpetuates the conflict, you know. But conflict is out of accord with who we truly are. Our true nature is peace, our true nature is love, so that's what we know, that's who we are, that's where we need to live, you know. So it's the relinquishment of all of that negativity, all of that all of the darkness that we've taken on over the years, right? We're letting that go in order to come into healing. We're letting that go in order to come into peace, in order to come into oneness with God. So when we take responsibility for the things that happen in our life, right, for the suffering that happened in our life, it's only to see it. It's only to see how it's being caused. It's only to see it so that it can be changed. It's not to take on the grief and the shame of blame, you know. Only if we see it do we know where the power lies and know that we have the power to change it. Only if we see it, then can we work through it in order to get past it, you know, to illuminate ourselves to the peace of our actual lives, you know. But when we blame ourselves and blame each other, we're still holding on to that conflict. We're still in that state of turmoil of the ego because that's what that is. That's the conflict of it. But there's freedom in actually letting go. To place blame, you're still under the illusion that these things are real, you know. It's giving it power. But to know that it's not real, that there's no blame to be placed anywhere. It's just something to forget about, something to put to the side. When we look at the ego, when we look at these situations, we're looking at fear itself. We're looking at the source of fear, right? And we're looking at it to see that it's not real. So we have to keep looking at it until we understand that it's not real. And it seems silly, like it seems like, okay, you're denying what's in front of your face, like you're not being true, you're not being real, but that's not it. Because once you start denying these things, they stop having an effect on your life, you know? They stop, you stop reaping what you sow because you're no longer sowing into seeds that are not real. You know what I'm saying? When we sow into the conflict, when we sow into the vengeance and the revenge and the brutality and attacks of the ego, when we sow into those things that are false, that's what we're getting back. That's the energy we're getting back. But if we're looking at it and saying it's not real and we no longer give our energy to it, we're no longer going to see the effects of it. Even if, you know, the world around you still seems to be swarming in it. You know, if you look past it, you're sitting there in a safe haven as the world goes crazy around you. You know what I'm saying? And because it's not real and the world is not actually going crazy. You know what I'm saying? The world is kind of just stuck in this delusion, but you're not stuck in it. So you're not receiving the effects of it. You know, you're not being hurt by it. You're not being torn down by it. You're on another path. You're on another journey where you're learning, where you're going through different phases of learning, you know, so you're coming out of it. You're being pulled away from it. And as you come out of it and live within your peace, you start seeing the effects of your peace. You know, you start seeing the effects of love that you're choosing to live through, you know. It's becoming more and more apparent. To the ease in your life becomes more and more apparent because you're on another journey now. You're on another path. you're opening up to understanding and getting acquainted with the self. And as you do this, the things that you saw as fearful before, the things that you were afraid of, they just become nothing. They just become cool because you know you're taken care of. You know your peace, where your peace resides, and you know that you're covered and protected and all of that. You know. So as you deny the darkness of the ego, you're looking at it. You're looking at the cause of this fear. You know what I'm saying? You're not denying it, saying, you know, you're seeing it happen. You're seeing it happen, but your denial of it is you not having any investment in it. You're not judging it. You're not having any feelings on it. The only thing you judge about it is the fact that it's not real, right? So you're seeing it happen around you, or you're seeing it happen within your life, but it's not affecting you, you know? So in that sense, you're shining your light on it. So you're illuminating the darkness, right? And anytime you illuminate darkness, darkness goes away. There's only light. You know what I'm saying? So you realize that that stuff is not real because you just shone a light on it, you know? When we look at fear, when we look at darkness, when we look at these things of the ego, it is not to fear. You know what I'm saying? Because it has no power of itself. All power lies within God. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing outside of that unless, you know, we give it its power, right? Unless we believe in it, you know? So it's not to be feared. It's only to be illuminated. It's only to see this, where the source of this pain, the source of this fear is coming from, you know, within ourselves, within our world, you know?